Yeah, it works.
Good. Awesome. All right. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Two Geeks Talking is an entertainment industry interview show where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, and video game industries. And of course, I'm your host, Kurt Sasso. This is a very special August interview because we're joined today by a director, by a very talented writer. He's Canadian at that, and he's done some amazing films, short films, as well as most notably two feature films. One that's currently being crowdfunded on Indiegogo, which I believe I can post here, and hopefully everyone will see. We're joined today by Jeremy LaLonde, the director of How to Plan an Orgy in a Small Town. How are you doing today?
I'm good. This is the debut of my
Yeah,
naked face. Can we? How does that work? Does it go back and forth, or we have to
yeah,
make
I
a
can.
two split? Oh, you do the editing.
No, I flip between the cameras, so I can
Okay.
select you as you're talking, and it's slightly. So if you want to just focus on me, click on my face. That way you're not getting the bounce back.
Oh, that's fine. He laughed really hard when this video came up. I just want everyone to know.
Yes, I was extremely taken off guard by the fact that he had like a lumberjack beard that a Canadian would be proud of, and now he's a baby face Bruce Willis. That's
Oh.
hilarious.
Nah, I'll take that's what my dad said. That's my Twitter thing. My dad said that, which is very kind of my father. Not at all true, but I'll take it.
For those that have never seen any of your work, and I should mention that you did the film Sex After Kids, which got amazing reviews and a talented cast and everything like that. For those that don't know about yourself as a director and a writer, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I have directed two feature films, Sex After Kids, and before that, the untitled work of Paul Shepard, and five short films now, I think. Yeah, I just did a short called Bastards last year that is also in development as a TV series, which could take forever or happen quickly, depending on the fates that be. And yeah, and actually, since we're plugging my Indiegogo campaign, for the first
Mhm.
time ever, you can actually get all of those shorts as part of one of the crowdfunding perks on one of the
Oh, that
DVDs.
okay. No, that's amazing. I definitely haven't funded it yet, but I definitely have been looking at your perks and your levels. We'll talk about that as well
Sure.
too a little later on in the show. But you, you had a very successful campaign with Sex After Kids. You had the community, the social media was extremely behind you, not only for the comedic aspect of it, but you had an all-star cast, quite literally,
Hmm.
that did Sex After Kids, and you've taken that same concept of social media and you brought it over to How to Plan an Orgy. Tell us a little about it. Tell us a little bit about the concept of How to Plan an Orgy.
The concept of that, or just why I use social media and that kind of stuff as. Are you talking about the
Social
film
media first.
itself, or? Sure.
Yeah.
It's the age we live in, right? I mean, we don't, especially here in Canada, we don't have giant, massive box office budgets. In the States and other places in the world, they have as much money for marketing and press as they do for the films themselves, if not more. And we barely have enough money to make movies in Canada. So, I really take the grassroots approach and kind of doing whatever you can to raise awareness. And we've been really, really fortunate that we've been able to do that with both. Can you hear my kids screaming? Can you hear that in
It's
the
okay.
background or no? No,
I can hear you.
it's grating on me. I feel so bad. My poor wife is putting. But for the people listening, my children are very excited by the beard shaving, which you'll see tomorrow. I'll post a video. So they're up much later than they normally are. I thought 9 o'clock was a safe time to start this because they're usually in bed between 8 and 8:30. So
Well, you know,
so I dedicate this podcast to my wife, who's battling bedtime right now with the two of them, and and a 2-year-old who just took the side of her crib off. So
oh,
she's obsessed with thinking she doesn't need it anymore. Anyway, so back to this. My
yeah,
head's just
yeah,
in three different places right now.
that's all right.
So I take the grass. I mean, I'm an independent filmmaker anyway, so you take the grass approach to trying to get whatever kind of exposure you can, and we were really, really fortunate with Sex After Kids, especially. I mean, we were able to take advantage of the fact that we have some cast with an international following, and we were lucky with the Indiegogo campaign, especially. We had backers from I think 26 different countries,
Wow.
which is phenomenal for an independent film
Yeah.
to have, already have that kind of an army in place while the film was being made. And that was so when I went to make this film, of which we have a bigger budget because we're being supported by Telefilm Canada as well.
Mm-hmm.
I still wanted to go with the same approach. It was like we had such a great experience on Sex After Kids, and I really, really love having the audience involved and being able to interact with them and let them get involved in the ground floor and have them be a part of it. So I thought, why wouldn't we do that again? I mean, it's a lot of work, but it's really, really rewarding. And I found that the money from crowdfunding is great, but what's really, really great is the crowd.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And being an independent filmmaker myself, more of a documentary filmmaker, but I'm getting into the features as well. I see successful campaigns like what you're going through right now. You still have just over a month left in this particular Indiegogo campaign. You're over 52% funded, and the Twitter is just exploding with the comments, with the interaction, with
it's been really, really great. But it's funny, you still have, like, even though it's like, oh, we've gotten to 50% in 8 days, that's amazing, but your brain doesn't let you celebrate yet because you go, oh, we still have 48% to go. So it's the Canadian in me too that keeps me humble and doesn't get too excited about it just yet. Well, I'll get excited when we get closer to the finish line. But even more excited if we can hit our stretch goals would be amazing because. There's never enough money for films. Things crop up, but also just it means that we can really market this thing a lot better than we could if we have to go for marketing funding on our own afterwards. So
let's talk. And I completely agree. I mean, there's such a business side of films that many people don't understand or know about. I mean, being an independent filmmaker, you're dealing with that firsthand. How have you survived that craziness as it is?
The business of making films?
Yeah, the business of making
work. Surround yourself with really good people. I'm really fortunate that I've been able to work with producers that are friends as well as, and so you're just there for each other. But I mean, and part of it is just learning as you go along and figuring it out. It's like I went to film school, but it didn't prepare me at all for the real world of making actual films. And in a lot of ways, I mean, in Canada, there's a traditional way that most films are made that you would call inside the system, and this is kind of the first time I'm doing that. So I'm learning a lot about that as I go along as well. Both my last two films are both funded privately, and so it was a matter of just figuring that, doing our own budgets, doing our own schedules, and that kind of stuff. So it's like, as I go along, I'm working with people that are like, well, this is how it's supposed to be done. But it's interesting, like. I found a way to kind of combine and kind of show them, the way I've been able to make a movie for next to nothing and make it look like it was made for $1 million. Because I go on bigger sets and I'm like, why do we need that person? Why do we need this? We don't need all this stuff. Like we can do it with just this and it can still be as good. Because I think it's harder. I mean, there's something that's exciting to me about making a film on a lower budget. It's kind of like a challenge in a way, but there's also just the business point of view too. Is that people aren't buying films the way they used to, because there is so much content out there now. It's not a seller's market; it's a buyer's market, and so there's no point in making an independent film for a lot of money because it's going to be really, really hard to recoup that money.
Well, let's talk about how to plan.
I lost my headphones. There we go. I'm back. Sorry. Continue.
I was just going to say, let's talk about how to plan an orgy because.
You mean in real life or the film? No, continue.
I was going to say, well, if you have the services, I mean, that's extra way to get funding for the film too, if you really want.
I don't know if it is.
Was it like $300 a head type thing? Get a stadium seating or whatever, and away you go, I guess.
Stadium seating, Jesus. With binoculars, it's like.
Sure, why not? It's like
the film
concert. Yes, the film.
What do you want to? You drive. What do you want to know? Like, what can I?
Okay. Well, let's talk about
I'm sorry.
the
I
film
can't
itself.
stop touching it.
It's okay. Oh, when it comes to this, how to plan an orgy itself, uh, how did you get this idea, this concept? Because you went from Sex After Kids, was
No,
hugely successful, to How to Plan an Orgy with the same comedic yet educational values I believe that you had with Sex After Kids.
yeah, I mean, I had some hesitation over doing two, sex comedies in a row, for obvious reasons. You don't want to get thrown into a category, but at the same time, the industry loves to throw people in the category, so that's not a bad thing either. Um, it came twofold. I mean, a lot of times when I'm writing stuff, there'll be one idea and I think it's one film, and then I have another idea over here, and then eventually sometimes they come together, and and then it explodes, and then suddenly it's a real thing. And for a long time, I've always wanted to make a film about a small town because I'm from a small town,
Mm-hmm.
and I think there's a lot of interesting components to that for me. And then for some reason, I had this title in my head. It just kind of popped in when we were doing post on Sex After Kids. This How to Plan an Orgy idea. I'm like, that's a funny title. And originally I was like, oh, it's probably about a bunch of 20 somethings in the city, young 20s, and then that's all as far as I got. And I kind of kept on thinking about it off and on. And then one day I was just pitching it to somebody, and then I just randomly added in a small town to the end of it, and then instantly it became something. I was like, oh my god, now that's something I can get behind, and that's something that's exciting for me. It's not just because it's not really about the sex for me. It's not. It's about kind of the vulnerability that becomes because of the sex, and kind of feelings of inferiority that often creep up in small towns where people live kind of under microscopes in a weird way. So yeah, so that's how it kind of came together, and then I've just been developing the script over the last year, and now we're going into production. Well, we hope to. That's the plan if all goes well with the campaign.
Well, and I have to thank both Audrey and Maverick for those two questions. It was kind of a combined question there
Hmm.
too. So thanks to at SmellyCat1304 and Maverick underscore Tom07 on the Twitterverse. Thanks a lot, guys.
Woo-hoo.
Appreciate the question.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. I think here's another question from Vanny Willow, at Vanny Willow, I should say, Lori. She asks, is it too early to think about a title for the third film in a trilogy?
Oh, God, I can't make some sex comedies in a row. I
I
can't.
don't know. Menage a trois in the back road.
But I just go on the back road. No. I mean, maybe I'll make it. I've got something I'm actually developing with. I don't know if I should mention it here. I'm developing with with an actor that I work with on a regular basis. Uh, they and I won't even go into the gender, but they and I are kind of developing a project that would maybe fall into the sex category um, genre. But so maybe there'll be a third one. I don't know when that one will happen, but I'm sure. I mean, I think there's something interesting about sexuality in people,
Mm.
um, and so I think that's what draws it to me. You get a lot of interesting things out of characters and people when you kind of delve into their sexuality, and not even just like in terms of nudity and sexual ways, but it's just I know you learn a lot about people through sex. I think maybe that's
Well,
what's interesting. I'm not a pervert.
well, it's the more the vulnerability aspect, like you mentioned. I mean, the fact that you're putting yourself out there quite literally. It's like things can happen.
Yeah, well, that's just it. Well, and that's what it is, right? Because someone asked me the other day about nudity in the film and if it was going to be comical or whatnot, and I said not really. I mean, for me, the nudity in the film, and we're still figuring out how much we want to show, how much we don't, um, and for me, it's about vulnerability. It's about showing somebody who you really are, and that's kind of the theme of the film too. And so for me, that's what kind of the nudity is going to be about in the film, is about kind of the awkwardness of actual real nudity, right?
Hmm.
So so often in sex comedies, and this is the case in Sex with the Kids too, is like you cast you know, high gloss models as your actors because you want them to have these perfect unrealistic bodies, and that's just not interesting to me at all. Not to say our cast is not attractive, they are, but they look, you know, they look like real people,
Mhm.
you know, and I think that's important too.
Well, definitely, and I think it's interesting the fact that you're going at it from a more of a humanizing aspect rather than a glorification of sex in itself. I think
Hmm.
that's wonderful. That hasn't been really done to this extent, at least not in many films.
Well, let's see if I don't mess that up. I haven't done it yet. It's just on paper right now.
Let's keep going here then. Here we go. Another one from Maverick. He always has some pretty interesting questions. Who gave the funniest audition or screen test for the movie?
For Orgy.
Yes.
We haven't really done all of the parts that are in the film right now have been just it's either people I've heard of before or it's been offers and just me
Uh,
meeting. So we haven't actually done auditions yet for the movie. We will be for some other parts, but we haven't done that yet. So I can't really answer that.
okay.
And I haven't and we didn't do auditions for Sex for the Kids either because that was all just offers and emails and meetings. I can answer what the funniest audition. Oh God. Zoe Palmer gave
Hmm.
it great when she auditioned for Paul Shepard. In the movie, she has a juice box she's drinking from, and that's something that she brought into the audition. That was amazing, and so that always sticks out to me.
And a very wonderful actress or actor as well too.
Hmm.
Yeah. When it comes to the scope of planning this particular film, how long does, as an independent filmmaker, how long does something like this physically take, at least in terms of scheduling?
How long did it take to schedule the movie, or just plan it? Like that's like because there is
Kind
like
of
an
like,
actual schedule you make, right? Like that's
yeah,
something.
yeah. I'm kind of
Oh,
thinking like from the overall planning, as of from pre-production to post-production type deal.
oh, wow. I mean, technically, I guess it depends on when you say we started pre-production. Like, I guess once we got the phone call from Telephone, we knew that we were kind of getting up the ground rolling. It was back in June, late June or July, and then you know we'll shoot it at the end of October, early November, and then you know our plan would be to have it finished some by May for sure because we'll want to start submitting to the film festivals
Mhm.
around that time. So like a year by the time it's going to be done and finished, a little less than a year, but
And
um. But that's not
sorry.
uncommon. A year's pretty normal by the time you. I mean, Sex with the Kids was the same. No? Well, Sex After Kids was literally a year because I started writing it on the end of January of 2012, and we screened at our first film festival in January 2013. So that one was literally a year turnaround. That was including writing the script and everything, which that does not happen ever. So this one's a little bit longer in terms of I spent a little bit more time developing the script because it was a bit more complicated in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
So yeah, this one will probably be close to 2 years by the time we it's finished and corrected and ready to start screening.
Nice.
I mean, every project is so different. It really depends, and as you go along, I mean, it gets a bit easier, but not necessarily easier. I mean, because every project is just such a unique beast on its own.
I was going to ask, what type of challenges did you face with Six After Kids that you think you could avoid with How to Plan an Orgy?
What challenges did we face? I mean, the biggest challenge. I don't know. That's an interesting question. I mean, what did I learn from that I won't. I mean, a lot of it is like the back end stuff of knowing that we have to pay for a DCP and insurance and all that kind of stuff that you remember. It's like, oh right, there's all those extra costs that are really boring and you don't think about. There's that. I mean, the difficult thing about Sex with the Kids was just that I decided to shoot it just on weekends, and so we shot for the over the course of like 3.5 months. Um, and that was complicated, but it was also easier because in a way you're not planning for an entire long shoot. You're just planning in a way just 2 days at a time. which made it a bit easier in some extent. But then you've also got to organize your crew all those weekends and organize. So it was both complicated and easier. What do I learn from Sex After Kids moving into? I don't know. I think part of it's just my style evolving and just me getting more comfortable working with and collaborating with, and kind of like I feel more confident going into this one, just in terms of how much push and pull there is with everyone. I mean, I'm really big on collaborating, and I believe in the best idea wins rule. And so, I'll take an idea from anybody, and if it works, great, and if it doesn't, well, we'll try it, and if we can, and if we have time to. Uh, everything filters through me, obviously, and I like to think I have a pretty good filter for a good idea or an okay idea or a silly idea. But I'll try a silly idea too if we've got the time, because you never know what's going to come out of it.
What was the biggest surprise then from Sex After Kids in terms of something that because of this particular filter that was included in that film?
What was the biggest surprise? I mean, I guess the biggest thing that changed was originally Christine Horn was cast as the sex therapist, and then we ended up shifting it to Gordon Pinsent. And that was largely a scheduling conflict with Christine. She ended up having to not be available, and then we couldn't change the date, and we just got lucky that Gordon was interested in doing it. I don't know if that really speaks to the question you asked, though. What was the biggest change? I don't know. I mean, a lot of it changed because I wrote the script. I kind of wrote an outline for that script, sent that to a bunch of actors I wanted to work with. So there wasn't, when the actors were first approached, there wasn't a script yet. And so when I wrote the script, I was writing with them in mind. And the first draft of the script, I didn't have character names because I knew that we were going to crowdfund, and I knew one of the perks was going to be for people to be able to name the characters. So in the first draft of the script, it was just the actors' names as their characters. And so so what would normally happen is I'd write a draft and never ever show it to anybody because first drafts are really embarrassing and terrible. But I just sucked it up and sent it out and was like, look, it's not great, or maybe people thought it was, but it's like, rip it to shreds. I don't care. Like, you can't hurt my feelings because I know that it needs work, right? So that process. Oh God, my poor wife.
Well, someone's gonna have to get her.
I will get up in the morning and be very good with the kids. So that process. Well, God, what was the question? My brain's turned to mush because of that. The writing. So I was very, I had no issue with them like coming at me with hard questions and that kind of stuff with that, because they were coming at it at the early stages of a script. And so I was discovering that with them. So in a way, it was kind of like having, 15 collaborators giving you notes on their characters and their stories. And so it made the rewrites happen so much faster than if I just sat back and went, oh, well, maybe I can go that direction, that direction. It was really, really great. I mean, I like sending out drafts early to people anyway and getting feedback, because I find that otherwise I just have to put it in a drawer and wait for 6 months, and I'd rather not wait 6 months.
Yeah, that's amazing. Being an independent filmmaker, though, I'm kind of picking your brain and asking questions at the same time, because
Sure.
I'm going to be going this route as well too. So we are going to get to more how to plan an orgy as well. But I like this process and planning that you're going through, because it's helping me out a lot. When it comes to being an independent filmmaker, are you looking, what type of equipment are you focusing on using, or are you renting, or is this in-house equipment that you have? From a technical standpoint?
Yeah, from in terms of equipment, I mean, I've shot. Oh, what did we shoot? I don't know what we're shooting Orgy on. We haven't really decided yet. I shot Sex After Kids on the Red, and Bastards, my last short, I shot on Red. Out, my short that was at TIFF, and has been in like a dozen festivals. That short has blown my mind. how far away that short has gone, because we just literally made that in a couple hours in an afternoon for giggles, and it's done really, really well, and I'm just really proud of it. But it's just like, it just goes to show that it's like, sometimes you just do something to make something cool, really good things can happen with it, and so that was an kind of an exercise in not putting too much thought into something and just going with my gut.
Yeah.
And on that, we shot that on a DSLR, and it looks great. And then what did we shoot that on? I want to say we shot that on an XD camera. And so yeah, and the reason, and I mean the big reason I've been shooting on red is because my DP that shot Bastards and Sex with the Kids owns 2 reds, so
Oh wow.
that's free equipment. It's a good reason to shoot when your DP owns stuff. And yeah, and so and my usual DP that I've worked with before is unavailable this fall, so I'm going to be for the first time working with somebody new, which is exciting and terrifying at the same time. So I don't know what we're going to shoot on yet, because part of me, I find there's so many great formats right now that I think it's like I'd rather find a DP I like and figure out what they want to shoot on, and then make sure that works for what we need for production. But I'd rather work with someone really talented and go with what they're comfortable with. But then it comes down to budget too. so that I don't know yet. In terms of post production, I work as an editor as well, and so I have my own edit suite that's kind of souped up. So I'm able to just kind of work out there.
That's
and
amazing.
yeah, so I cut on Avid.
Oh, you do use Avid, okay.
I'm an Avid guy.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I used to be a Final Cut guy for the longest time, and then
really?
yeah, well, that's what I kind of grew up on. Like my buddy Zach, who is my usual DP, and I went to high school together, and we kind of learned how to edit together, and we switched back and forth between Adobe Premiere and Final Cut Pro based on who had the most current update. And so those are my two, and I knew them really, really well. And then when I kind of got into professional editing, and I had to lie my way into my first job when someone asked if I knew how to use Avid, and I said, yeah, and then thinking it would be the easiest thing in the world, and it's the most complicated program in the world.
Yeah,
so I was a steep learning curve, but then I dove in, and now it's my preference.
I'm struggling with it myself too, so I'm slowly I'm going to be learning it like more extensively in the coming few years left of university. So
once you get used to Avid, you can be a ninja on that thing.
Nice.
Like I can fly on that, and like I had to do a job last year, a TV series I was editing that we did in Final Cut, and I hated it. It felt like I had gone from using driving like a Lamborghini to like a golf cart. It just felt like I was on a child's tinker toy. It bothered me so much. Nothing against Final Cut, but I couldn't do it. It upset me a lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. When it comes to the actors and actresses that you have involved with the film as of right now, with Jewel, with Enos, with everyone else that you have currently,
Ennis. Don't say his name wrong.
I'm horrible.
It's okay.
Unless they say it first.
It's okay.
Well, let's put it this way.
Ennis always has his name mispronounced, unfortunately. Just for your loyal listeners, it's Ennis Esmer, the very talented Ennis Esmer.
Yes, very talented indeed.
But don't be embarrassed. It happens all the time. I just wanted to correct you in case you said his name again.
Oh, please. Which is why I usually never say a name twice. Well, to my chagrin, I also messed up Max Brooks' name as well, the Z for Zombie guy too. So that was pretty embarrassing.
Why did you mess up that name?
Nerves, for one. He was my very first interview at C2E2 in 2010, so it was nerves. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Then I realized he was the son for Mel Brooks, so that made me feel like a real ass. So
Oh, that's okay. How'd you say it? Not even know.
It's online. I'll send you a link through YouTube.
Oh, okay.
I'll send you the YouTube link. It's embarrassing 8 minutes where I'll just let you watch my chagrin. It's funny actually. But these talented actors, you're talking about your pre-production aspect where you were sending the drafts to these amazing people with Sex Active Kids, but in terms of Orgy in itself, you did the same process. You got some amazing actors and actresses to accept this particular script. What was it about the script that they truly enjoyed?
Oh, I mean, I guess my short answer would be you'd have to ask them. But I mean, Orgy was slightly different in that I'd kind of written the script before I sent it out to actors. Although I've done workshops with it. I did like an early workshop with it last spring, and I think Ennis was there and Tommie was there as well. But yeah, so I mean, I think they're connecting. I know Jewel in particular connects. I mean, I know the first time I sent it to her, and she wrote me back and said that she thought it was really sweet and really heartfelt, and she really liked that about it. And she was, I don't know if she was surprised by that, given the title and whatnot, but I know that's what connected to her is the themes of it and that kind of stuff. And I think that's true for a lot of the people. I mean, the one comment I get a lot on the script is that it's very, very funny, but also that it's got a lot of heart, which is kind of what's important to me.
Nice. Well, it shows that you're in touch with your emotions as a writer. That's always nice to see.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of the cast, it's giving them something to do that they don't normally do. I mean, that's really the trick to getting good actors, is offer them a role nobody else is offering them. Give them an opportunity that nobody else is giving them to try something different or to show off a different side of themselves. I mean, for Jewel in particular, and not to say that there's not anything in here that Jewel we haven't seen from her before, but I think with Jewel in particular, I mean, this part is just, I'm so excited to do this with her because she's got such great warmth, but she's also got that kind of jadedness that she can pull out. And I don't know if I've seen that together in one part necessarily. I mean, I guess that's not true, but I mean, in a way, it's like her character of Cassie has got the sweetness of someone like Kaylee from Firefly, but then she's also got, she can be Raquel from LA Complex as well at moments, right? Just seeing like, the different shades of that in one performance, I think will be really, really exciting.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. But it was the same, like for example, for Zoe, for Sex After Kids. I mean, Zoe is one of the funniest people in the world, and doesn't get cast in comedies because she's one of those actresses that is really, really amazing at drama, and can do all the stuff, can cry on command and that kind of stuff, which you need to do, and so people just don't consider her or think of her for comedic roles, which is ridiculous because she's so funny. Yeah. So it was really a chance for her to do big comedy and be really just shine, and that was exciting for me and for her for that project.
Definitely, yeah. It's great that you're able to pull a range of emotions and everything like that from the actors you have, and I can't wait to see what How to Plan an Orgy has in store with the range that you're going for with the talent that you have as well too. I think it's going to be incredible.
You and me both.
Here's another question, and I definitely have to ask these because I know she's going to be watching. This is from her title is RP, but she goes by @TTLY Pomerized, or Pomerized, I should say. Horrible at these Twitter names. Apologies there. Here we go. So here it is. When you reach the 100% goal for your Indiegogo campaign, since you did 50% with your beard coming off, what's going to happen? What's going to happen when you hit the 100% mark?
I can't tell you yet. We got something. We're gonna probably do an announcement next week for that. But I don't want to say just yet because we're still figuring out the mechanics of it. I don't know. It's not necessarily me. I'll say that.
That's an interesting tease. I like that.
Yeah. Because what else can I lose? Let's be honest here.
Yeah, no, there's
no, there's not much. It's like I even made a little boo-boo here where I shaved too much, and then I shouldn't say I did, or some small little children did, and then there was the debate. Did we do the whole thing? So we just left it. Left the computer, deciding that it will grow back quickly enough. I can live with a little blemish.
That's great. Another question then from her also is, we've been talking about Zoe, here and there throughout the entire interview. Will Zoe Palmer be added to Team Orgy?
Isn't that the question of the day? I can't say anything yet. I don't know. Maybe
Uh,
she will. Maybe she won't. I don't want to. We have cast members we're going to be announcing that we're still working out some stuff. But I mean, a lot of, and to be honest, I mean, I know a lot of people on Twitter have asked. They said, "Oh, I'd love to see this person in a movie," and is this person going to be in that I've worked with before? And
mm,
and a lot of times it comes down to schedules,
yeah.
and people whether or not they're available. Like this time, we're not shooting on weekends. We're going to shoot a chunk, and so that means that there's a lot of great people that I want to work with and that have expressed interest in working with me. That the timing is just not going to work out. So it's the kind of thing that you'll do at another point in time. So
Mm.
I will just say keep tuned. We will be announcing more cast by the end of the campaign, and as soon as we can, really.
So it's more like if you get confirmation, then you're like sitting on it for all of these weeks, and it's like I really want to talk about this, but I can't just yet.
Part of it's that. Part of it's that. But stay tuned. Stay tuned, and more cast will be revealed.
Well, let's go a little more philosophical here. This is some four questions I normally ask all of my guests. And I think this will be more interesting and important in this role as well too. Uh, Everyone usually has one or two people that kind of set them on their path to where they are today. Who are they for you?
Oh, like who gave me my start, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, or maybe kind of guided you towards where you are as a director, writer, possibly. It's
Oh
it's whoever
God.
inspired you, really.
Yeah. I mean, probably my high school drama teacher was such a strong force for me. My mom passed away when I was 16, and so she was kind of like a second mother to me, and really, really supported me. And especially my writing, we ended up doing. I wrote school plays that we produced at the high school, so that was a really, really nice kind of early encouragement that what I was doing didn't suck, or was, or was at least as good as the cheap plays that we could afford to buy to do at the high school. So her name is Donna McEachran. I don't know if she's listening, but she was a really, really big early influencer for me. And then, I mean, there's so many influences. I mean, in terms of just like, people I admire that I can go on and on and on about. But I mean, I think the one person, and I'm not just saying this because she's working her ass off right now, but my biggest influence is my wife, and just the way that she's super supportive, and also one of the funniest people I know. But nobody would ever know that besides me. And I know, and I think back on like just all the experiences I've had, and I know that I would not be where I am or who I am as a storyteller, as a writer, without her.
Hmm.
Those are my
Good
answers.
answers.
Yeah.
Good answers. I like them. And the fact that she may actually watch this interview and oh, type things.
She'll still be mad at. But let's
um,
hope it. Hope. But I'm not just saying that because of this. That would be my answer anyway.
Good answer either way.
Yeah.
um, you've done so much in your professional career, from being an editor to being a director, producer. So professionally, you're extremely successful. Do you consider yourself personally successful?
Yeah. It's interesting. I read something the other day that someone had posted on Facebook, and it was like, how do you know if you're happy? And I was like, I'm going to click on this because I want to know, because clearly I don't know the answer myself. And one of the questions was, if today was your last day on Earth, would you have been happy with it being your last day? And it was like, I think it was Saturday I read that, and I just spent the day hanging out with my wife and kids, and I was like, yeah, that would have been a good day. And then I started thinking back about like the day before and the day before that, and I'm like, yeah, all these days are good. So it's like, I'm really, really fortunate that I get to do what I love, and I get to tell stories, and people get to be affected by them, and that's really rewarding for me, is to know, because I try to tell personal stories that I think people can relate to, and so when I hear back that they do, it's really, really touching for me, because I know that when I was growing up and watching movies, and feeling the emotions you feel from watching stuff, it's really rewarding that I've been able to do that back, and that's kind of what keeps me going, in that way. But just knowing that it's like, I don't have to, I through high school and college I did the crappy jobs and stuff, and and I'm just fortunate and really, really blessed that I don't have to do that anymore, you know. And I still work as an editor, so I still have a day job. But I mean, right now it's I'm working on this show that I laugh every day, and it's really, really. And I'm working with a great team of people that are really smart and really push me, and I learn from. And so even in that, I'm like, I'm still blessed. It's like, you know, it's the old adage that it's like do what you love, and you never work a day in your life. And that's kind of how it feels, which is really, really nice. And so I'm going to stop talking about this because I just feel like I'm bragging. But it's you know, it's been nice, but it's been a lot of hard work too.
Definitely. Great answer. I mean, and the fact that I've been doing this for 6 years, I'm into my seventh year now, is, you know, I love it. It's a fun time, a job. I get to meet awesome people like yourself, and I'm learning things as well too, and that's the ultimate goal. So, how do you deal with your failures?
Oh, geez, alcohol mostly. No,
You know, you're not the only one that said that, actually.
oh, gee, Walker. No, I mean, in all reality, it's like I don't ever see anything as a failure. I see it as just an opportunity to learn, and you move on. It's like, you know, I've applied for grants and you get turned down, and you know, you don't get into this festival, you don't get into that festival. But it's like I'm a firm believer that, you know, certain things happen for a certain reason, and I just don't hold on to anything. Life's too short. I mean, that's kind of the blessing of having, you know, two kids, is that you just don't have time to like get stuck in your head and worry about shit that you should. Can I say shit? I guess I've said it twice now.
Yeah, no, you can. It's fine.
So you know, you don't have, you just, they kind of like help you self edit all of the stuff that you would normally obsess about and worry about, and so you just really focus on what's important. And so, you know, whatever setbacks you face, you move on. And I try to keep enough stuff going on in different avenues that if one thing kind of falls apart or needs to be put on the side, then something else moves forward. You know, for example, we tried to get this film made a year ago, Orgy, and it didn't. The timing just didn't work out. The way the funding bodies in Canada work is there's like a really short time frame to get a project in, and we came in kind of late. So we had, my producer and I kind of sat back and went, well, that really sucks. We wanted to make a movie this year. It's like, what else can we do? And so we started talking about other projects, and I brought up Bastards, and I said, hey, I've got this short that I think would be a great TV series. And so we looked at it, we're like, hey, why don't we do it as a short, and then use it to try to get it in development. And so we spent the year doing that. And, you know, in retrospect, I'm so glad that it's worked out the way it has, because, you know, hopefully we get a TV series going, which would be amazing and phenomenal. And also, I don't know, I think the script has evolved over the last year in a way that's really better, a lot better than what we would have made last year. So I think again, so it's like, you know, it was a setback, but I also think it worked out, and everything happened for a reason.
Nice. I guess two final questions then. The last one I have is, the younger generation, they're looking to you as an inspirational person, and they're being inspired by your short films, by Sex After Kids, you know, the following that you've been getting over the Twitterverse and social medias there have been amazing, and they're looking to you as that inspirational person that can kind of guide them to
Really?
how they are living their lives.
This is blowing my mind that people are looking to me. Continue with your question.
Yeah. It's a lead-in thing.
Oh, okay, great.
How can they inspire the generation that follows them?
Oh, Jesus. I mean, just to answer that with kind of what I was talking about, the fact that I was kind of oblivious to this. So thank you if I inspire any of you. It's very humbling for me. But I guess the answer is to just do what makes sense to you, and that's kind of what I've been doing. Is tell stories that you want to see, you know, and don't listen to people telling you no, because that's what Sex After Kids came out of. It came out of another project that was really close to being done, falling apart, and then me deciding that I wasn't going to wait around for someone else to tell me that I can make my next film. And so, I mean, I think take the bull by the horns and use what you have available to you to tell your stories. And just don't listen to no, and then use every opportunity as a way, like with the failure thing. It's like use every opportunity as a way to learn from and do something else. It's like, that's maybe the universe telling you that now is not the time for that. Do something else. Um, so yeah, just be genuine and be honest and try to help other people. Like I think the one thing that I try to do as much as I can is to support other filmmakers, and whether it's meeting up with them for a coffee or a drink or dinner, and reading their scripts or giving them notes, or watching their cuts of their films, or even just tweeting out that there's a screening here or there. It's like I think it's really really important that we support ourselves in the indie community.
Yeah.
And we're much stronger together than we are apart. And I think, I think especially as a director, I mean, I think so. It's such a lonely job because you're kind of seen at the top of the structure of what you're doing, but at the same time, it's like I think you need to reach out to other filmmakers and learn from them, especially. I mean, I'm sure they're the same way. It's like I love like behind the scenes stuff and commentaries and interviews. It's like I get off on that because you're constantly learning and you're constantly developing stuff. I mean, one of the things that was really inspiring to me and kind of motivated Sex Up for Kids in a huge way was seeing what Edward Burns was doing with Newlyweds and Nice Guy Johnny, and he says he makes those films for $10,000, but he doesn't talk about the post costs. He then goes to spend like 90 grand in post. But his thing was you don't need to shoot like the whole 15 days at once. Do 2 days here, 2 days there, and that's what inspired my weekend shoots. And just the idea of doing work with a really small crew and that kind of stuff. So that was really really inspiring for me, listening to an interview with him and reading up on his process for that. And so yeah, so I think I mean hopefully kind of the path I've gone makes it easier for someone else when they do their first film or their second film or whatever it is.
Nice. I may have to hit you up a few times for something I'm working on, but that's afterwards. Is there anything that I haven't talked about with how to plan an orgy, or is there anything that you want those that are watching and listening to this to know about? Because we kind of went all over the place, but I hope I touched on as much as I could with the film.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing the crowdfunding campaign, so please check that out. If you're not in a position to contribute yourself, please spread the word, and maybe someone that you know will. There's some really great perks. There's there's one that you can get into touch with me, and I'll help consult on a project of yours. I'll read a script, or we'll do something like this, and I can help guide you through whatever help you need. So there's something like that for young filmmakers. There's other perks where you can come on set for a day. You can be an associate producer. Copies of the movie, that kind of stuff. I don't know, I haven't checked the campaign in a couple hours, but there was a new perk today where you could name a character, and 2 of them got scooped up right away, which is amazing. So there's 3 left on that. So if you want to try to not name a character, sorry, but have your name said in the film, which might mean that you have a character named after you, at least a small character. There's a lot of people in a small town, so people get like, hey, so and so, hey, so there's some fun opportunities for names to be dropped out.
That's awesome.
So check out the campaign. We're gonna have a lot more fun stuff coming up. We've got more videos coming, some cast announcements that as soon as we can we'll announce them. So just a lot of more fun and new perks. We're going to be introducing new perks too as we go along. We introduced a new one today, and we've got maybe, I don't know if we have another one to introduce this week or next week, but some more fun stuff. So keep checking it out and follow along. I mean, the other thing is you can get exclusive updates. You can, I think I want to say that the $25 option gives you the digital download, also gives you access to our production diaries in advance. So that kind of fun stuff. For me, it's really important to make the campaign as interactive and audience involved as possible, because that's the kind of stuff I love.
Definitely. It was the video that really got me. I've watched it at least 6 times just because the first 3 minutes is hilarious. I laugh my ass off every time I watch it there. Jules' reaction was just priceless.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Great job on that. And your other stuff, your other behind-the-scenes work, which is, you hit the nail on the head. I love that stuff. I've been a producer myself, so I've done that behind the scenes myself manually, so it's a blast doing that. You have great videos, great content, amazing perks, and I can only wish you more success than what you're already getting, because I think it's going to be one of those films that you'll be able to watch time and again. You'll learn something new not only with what you have planned with the actors, with pacing, with everything along that line. I'm really looking forward to either way. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview, Jeremy. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you. It was my pleasure too. There's my wife. That means the kids are
And
asleep. Maybe? No?
I'll just close up real quick. Then I just want to thank everyone for being live on this particular episode. Thanks everyone for supplying the questions on Twitter. I really appreciate it. You can, of course, see this interview on our website, which is tgtmedia.com. You can also go to our YouTube page, which is youtube.com/tgtmedia. The audio versions of these interviews are available on our iTunes, which you can get on our main website. We're also on Patreon, which is patreon.com/2geekstalking. Couldn't talk there for a second. And finally, get me on Twitter. I'm available right there, at Kurt Sasso. One over there. And don't forget, you can subscribe somewhere that's up above or whatever, and I greatly appreciate all of your support. And thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. I'm your host, Kurt Sasso, for another great interview with Two Geeks Talking. Tune in next week for another creative person as well. Talk to y'all later.